Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Wednesday, the 24th of September. India's maiden Mars mission successfully enters orbit. Sindh activists accuse Pakistani agencies for attacks on Hindus. And Bangladesh pledges to work towards curbing emissions. And now for all the details. India created space history, becoming the first country to succeed on its maiden Mars mission. After a few initial nail-biting moments, the Asian giant's Mars orbiter satellite began orbiting the red planet in the wee hours on Wednesday, propelling India to an elite global space club.
More than 10 months after it was first launched from its earthly home, India's unmanned spacecraft Mangalyaan, or Hindi for Mars vehicle, entered the red planet's orbit early on Wednesday. Mangalyaan's 670 million kilometer voyage from the blue planet was not without its heart-stopping moments. But its successful entrance into Martian orbit has pushed India ahead of the Asian race to Mars. It's beaten China and Japan, whose missions have so far failed. India's triumphant Mars mission has placed its space program alongside the select group of Martian explorers, Europe, Russia and the United States. At $74 million, the mission has cost less than recent missions to Mars, including NASA's Maiden spacecraft. And even by Hollywood standards, a steel sci-fi blockbuster Gravity had an estimated budget of $100 million. Prime Minister Narendra Modi witnessed the historic moment at the Indian Space Research Organization's base near Bangalore in South India.
I congratulate all ISRO scientists as well as all my fellow Indians on this historic occasion. We have gone beyond the boundaries of human enterprise and imagination. We have accurately navigated our spacecraft through a route known to very few.
Indian-built Mangalyaan will circle the red planet for 6 months to gather data on Mars's surface and climate. It will search for methane and attempt to answer the question of whether life exists on Mars. Indian scientists say the Mars mission could be a turning point for India's space industry.
Countries will be willing to cooperate with India more willingly. They'll say, when we deal with India on an equal footing. That they will teach us something, we'll tell them something. Commercially, India is very economical. ISRO can launch a communication satellite much cheaper than many other countries.
The main aim of the mission was to see if India had the technological ability to get to Mars. Now that it has, Indian scientists will be reaching for more ambitious feats such as a moon landing and manned missions. But amidst celebrations, India's space program is not without its critics. They are questioning if India should be spending millions on space travels when millions more are starving and have no access to clean water. Avneet Arora for South Asia Newsline in New Delhi.
A Sindhi rights group has blamed Pakistan for patronizing religious extremism in the region. It has condemned the attacks on minorities, especially on Hindus, and their forced conversions in the southern province.
The Sindhi community in Pakistan continues to bear the brunt of oppression. Blaming successive governments for exploiting the region's natural resources, Sindhis accuse Pakistani agencies of inflicting violence upon locals and forcing them out of their own homeland. The World Sindhi Congress has condemned the attacks on the minorities, mainly Hindus, and their forced religious conversion in the province.
They are attacking the most vulnerable part of the Sindhi society, which is Sindhi Hindus, indigenous people. Take their girls, burn their temples, kidnap them, kill them. So create an atmosphere of coercion, of harassment, of fear, so that they are forced to leave. And as a result of that, hundreds of thousands of people are leaving.
The nearly 3 million strong Hindu community in Pakistan has been regularly protesting against continuing attacks on their temples. At least 6 incidents of religious desecration happened around May, with majority being connected to the burning of religious books of the minority sect in Sindh. A Hanuman temple and an adjoining religious center were set ablaze in Larkana in March this year. Another temple in Hyderabad was desecrated a week later for alleged blasphemy by some community members. A Hindu temple in Tharpakar district was also attacked, where miscreants desecrated the idol. The largest religious minority in the Sunni-dominated country has long struggled to protect their places of worship and properties from being taken over by land grabbers.
In the period of March to now, there have been 10 attacks on temples, burning, vandalism, destruction, and not a single perpetrator has been arrested. The forced kidnapping of Sindhi Hindu girls, forced conversion, forced marriages, that is a routine basis.
Luhana also blamed Pakistan's spy agencies for indulging in extrajudicial killings and kidnappings of Sindhi political leaders and activists.
2014 alone, there have been more than 50 political activists. They have been abducted by agencies. We do not know their whereabouts. We do not know that whether they are safe and secure.
The Sindhi community has been demanding sovereign status for the province and the right of self-determination for some time now. But the separatist movement has been strongly suppressed by Pakistani forces with impunity.
On to some other developments now. Bangladesh has urged the global community to follow its example in curbing the emission of greenhouse gases. The country has also pledged $385 million for an action plan against climate change in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on Tuesday reiterated her country's commitment to address the challenges of cutting down on carbon emissions. Speaking at the UN Climate Summit 2014 in New York, Prime Minister Hasina said Bangladesh will fulfill its promise of not exceeding the permissible emission limit of gas.
Bangladesh will never exceed the average per capita emission of the developing world. The large emitting countries should reciprocate our voluntary commitments.
Prime Minister Hasina said the country is making all efforts under its Bangladesh Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan to combat the growing challenge.
In recent years, Bangladesh has undertaken significant steps. We now have 3.2 million solar home systems, over 1.5 million improved cook stoves across Bangladesh. We have developed stress-tolerant crop varieties and implemented Bangladesh climate change strategy and action plan. Though we are a climate vulnerable LDC, we allocated $385 million from our own resources for adaptation and mitigation.
With the coastline of 441 miles, Bangladesh is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change, affecting livelihood of millions. Bangladesh has already witnessed a rise in floods and violent storms in the past decades, causing widespread damage. The rising sea level due to global warming is also posing a great challenge to the country. According to scientists, 10 to 17% of Bangladesh's coastal areas will be inundated by the next century, which is expected to witness a rise of 3 feet in sea levels.
The number of polio cases in Pakistan this year rose to 171 after 5 new patients were registered on Tuesday. 2 of the latest wild-type 1 polio cases were reported from the federally administered tribal areas, while 1 each from Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Sindh. According to the World Health Organization, Pakistan is one of the 6 countries in the world where the disease is still endemic. The spread of the crippling virus continues to rise even after the Taliban banned its vaccination in 2012, calling it a Western plot to sterilize Muslims. The world body had in May this year imposed a travel ban on Pakistanis flying abroad. The WHO had demanded vaccination of the travellers at least 4 weeks before stepping out of the country to prevent its spread globally. While horse polo continues to remain a game of the rich and the elite across the world, a small community in Pakistan is trying to uphold the tradition of the game, but with a twist. Take a look.
The remote Himalayan valley of Brog Hill in the Hindu Kush ranges, some 13,000 feet above sea level, witnessed a unique sporting event. The yak polo, held as part of a festival of the Wakhi community in Chitral district of Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, attracted eyeballs for its uniqueness. Amid traditional drum beats and folk dances, sportspersons mounted on their yaks to fight it out on field. The annual event holds credit to being one of the few events in the region trying to keep the traditional game alive. Participants said it was a challenge to sustain the custom.
इसका बहुत खर्चा है, यानी साल 1.5 लाख से ऊपर का खर्चा इस पे आता है एक ही खुशगांव पे। तो इसके लिए अगर हुकूमत भी सपोर्ट करे, फुल सपोर्ट नहीं कर सकता है तो हाफ सपोर्ट करे तो ये जो योग पोलो है ये बरकरार रह सकता है।
Many appeal to the government to help them spread the popularity of the game.
हुकूमत से ये गुजारिश करते हैं कि थोड़ा हमारा मदद करें, हम इस खेल को आगे ले जाए ताकि दुनिया में कई खेल से लोग यहाँ आके इस खेल को देखें।
Yaks are an indispensable part of the habitat across the Himalayan region and Central Asia. The long-haired 700 to 2,000 pound beasts are a major means of transport in the rocky and cold terrain of the mountains where other animals like horse and camel struggle to survive. Yak riding is also an important tourist attraction in the foothills and holiday destinations of Pakistan and India.
India is gearing up for yet another festive season. Ahead of the 9-day Navratri celebrations, here's how craftsmen are preparing to beautify their favourite goddess.
The construction of welcome arches and decoration work at the tents might be underway in a hurried manner, but artisans are not missing out on any detailing in the idol making ahead of the festival of Durga Puja. In northern Gorakhpur, craftsmen are working against time to meet last-minute orders for the statues of goddess Durga. The intricate work of art which they are assigned to do gives them immense inner peace and devotion, some said.
बहुत ही अच्छा लगता है, हम जो रात जग के काम करता हूँ हमारी शरीर में नहीं लगता है, इतना उत्साह लगता है जो ऐसे हर साल हो, ऐसे और बढ़िया हो। हमारा मेहनत भूल जाता हूँ, पूजा देखता हूँ जब जो इतना मेहनत किया हूँ, खुश हो जाता हूँ।
Rains in Tripura could dampen the spirits of artisans there, as many are working day and night to give final touches to the idols. Praying to Durga, the Hindu goddess of power, is an integral part of the festival of Navratri. Beautiful goddess Durga statues are a prominent feature of the celebrations that take place in tents decorated with spectacular themes. The festival lasts for 9 days in honor of the 9 manifestations of goddess Durga. It concludes with the immersion of the idols into water bodies, marking the victory of the goddess over demons. Navratri is set to begin on Thursday.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. India's maiden Mars mission successfully enters orbit. Sindh activists accuse Pakistani agencies for attacks on Hindus. And Bangladesh pledges to work towards curbing emissions. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.